y'all know what that is. You know what that is? Danita knows what it is. It's that puppy wiggle, right? That's puppy wiggle! We up in her. Right? Now, I appreciate everybody coming. For real. Because I got my puppy wiggles on, because I feel like, ooh, I got something to tell y'all. Ah! Oh, the clicker. Ah, that sister. So I feel like I got something to tell y'all, right? Yeah. Okay. First of all, this is my mom's. Without her, who would I be, right? Heart, blood, skin, everything, right? But I wouldn't be telling an equal side of the story if I didn't include my pops. When I saw this picture, I was like the puppy, like sideways, looking at it like, what am I doing wearing this hat, right? What am I doing in this military uniform? Where am I? But it was this sister here, though, who rocked that, right? But shh, that's not what I came here to tell y'all. What I came to tell y'all is that I think I heard a who. I think I heard a who. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Horton, here's a who, that little Dr. Seuss story where this elephant, he had this little flower and he thought he heard a who. Coming from inside the flower, I think I heard a who, y'all. I think I heard a who. But I didn't just hear it from the flower, I heard it from another place. Another place that's bigger. This crazy place that we live in, and it's just absolutely huge, and I feel like I think I heard a who, y'all. So here, first when I was down in Selma, Alabama, doing the 50th anniversary of that walk across the bridge, I started to see these building blocks, and I thought, dang, from the smallest hair to the closest stone to my eyes, to the nearest star that we have to us, which is the sun. And then I started looking at the sun, and it was like, wow, looking at this, not just showing the sun, but the arc of the sun on its low. It's actually taken on my mother's born day, December 21st, which is also winter solstice. It's the day when the sun rises the lowest in the sky of the year, and it stays there for about 3 days before we have a rebirth of the sun, and then the sun starts to raise higher in the sky. And then it was crazy. I don't know if y'all have ever seen the sky without a whole bunch of light pollution. I wish we could turn down these lights, like have it absolutely black, so you could see just, whoa, it's not just this one star, right? This is like, whoa, damn! And I'm out there with the penguins, and the penguins are like, we've been here. So on this assignment down in the Falkland Islands where these penguins are, I couldn't be sent down there just to get the stars. You know, I had to flip it, you know, me, right? I had to then show, like, what the stars look like, the course of the stars over the night. Gotta flip it like that, right? Because they don't send, they say, Jahi, when you go down there, bring us back you. Don't just bring us back the regular, bring us back you, right? So I'm gonna flip it. And then I ran into this picture, a NASA picture. This isn't my picture, right? But this showed just like the type of galaxy that we're in, and we would be like this little bitty, itty bitty, one little star in this galaxy of like 100 billion. It was like, dang! And I don't know if y'all know how photography works, right? But if we were to black out these lights and light a candle in each corner of the room would look like it's black at first, right? But then I know how to set a camera, and some of you probably do, to where you can see like the wider, I mean, you can take a long exposure until I see everybody in the room lit by those candles. And that's what they did in like the darkest place of the sky. They said, let's point out cameras there and see what it looks like. And that's what it looked like. It was like, dang! We out there, we would be like way little in one of these little bitty things, like way little down like that, right? And I'm thinking, man, I'm not a religious bruh, but if there is a God, This guy would have to be some ultimate scientist, some ultimate mathematician to draw these plans out, right? You don't feel me? Now, okay, this is where my wife will be telling me to, okay, calm down, calm down. So just this past Sunday, I was out on assignment just looking for some feature photograph of the day, right? And I looked across this park. It was at Malcolm X Park, Meridian Hill Park. And I see this dude I had met about a decade before, about 10 years before. And when I walked up on him the first time I saw him outside the White House like 10 years ago, the first thing I said out of my mouth, because I was shocked to see this bruh, the first thing out of my mouth was, Jesus, my bruh Jesus, where you been all my life? And he said, I have been he said, I guess I've been everywhere you haven't been. And I was like, dang! I know I'm getting ready, get into something with this cat. I was like rubbing my hands. I said, bruh, where you from? I'm from every place I've ever been that I'm not now. I was like, dang! You are Jesus! So I'm having this conversation with him because I hadn't seen him in 10 years, right? And to tell you the story about this dude is back in the 80s, like he's a Vietnam vet from Grambling, Louisiana. And back in the 80s, he stopped wearing shoes because he lived down in Iowa. He saw this cattle slaughter plantation, and he stopped wearing shoes. Because he was like, I'm going to walk like Jesus. I'm going to be that one, right? I'm going to take off my shirt, right? And so while I'm talking to him and he's cutting up his stuff, I said, bruh, I know I haven't seen you in about 10 years, so can I take your picture again? And he said, I don't know if you can or not. And I was like, dang! He's even grammatically correct. So I said, I feel you, I get the point, but may I take your picture? And he said, I'm sorry, because I gotta get this right. He said, when I asked him if he could take his picture, he said, yes, he said, I don't know if you can or not. And I said, well, if nothing else, I can take the hell out of a picture, right? I can take the hell out of a picture, but may I take your picture? And he said, yes, you may. But please take the hell out of it, because I want to be all heaven. And I'm like, dang! And we busted out laughing. And I showed his brother, because I bumped into him just this past Sunday. And it was as if this bigger who that I heard said, take this bro with you, right? Introduce me to them. If you leave here today, uplifted and inspired, then give credit to that, whatever that bigger force is that it's not spiritual, not religious, or whatever it is to you. Give credit to that, but also give credit to Celeste for keeping tapping me on my shoulder to come here, right? Toss a little credit my way. But then give credit to yourselves, right, for listening to that who too and showing up, right? If you leave here a higher level mathematician of the spirit, then blame it on that higher power that you have. Blame it on Celeste for tapping me on my shoulder with it. Toss a little my way. But then listen to yourselves, right? Listen to yourselves, and you might be asking yourself, what is this brother doing talking about being a high-level mathematician of the spirit? Specifically, what is this brother doing talking about being a higher-level mathematician of the spirit with the purpose of carrying out some higher understanding of equality, right? Because I feel like if we are higher level mathematicians of the spirit, then we have a better chance than we equip ourselves to be able to fight against, because things are off kilter. You gotta know. When you look around, things are off kilter. So if we understand and are better able to understand the words and the language of mathematics on paper, then maybe even the simplest stuff, then maybe we can understand those higher level math equations of the spirit, so that we can find some sort of harmony. Because, you know, why do we have this list of names where these young black dudes and black sisters are just being killed by cops, and the numbers are piling up and it's disproportionate? Why would we have these funerals? Why would and Mike Brown's ghost of a face here? Why would we have this strife between us? Why would it ever have been written in the U.S. Constitution that because of your skin color that we're writing these laws about the equality of all of us, but then you on paper, right, this person then is 3/5 of a human, because all these rights and privileges that we give to these people we call humans, we are not giving it to them. And that's been written in our Constitution. That's crazy to me. So it wouldn't lead us to this, and we wouldn't have, if we felt, if there was some sort of equality of the spirit, there wouldn't be gender inequality. There wouldn't be the devaluing of women and to the point where they don't get paid for the same work, and worse, deeper in places like Congo, and even in the U.S., this worldwide issue of rape culture and homophobia, because two people down in Buenos Aires in Argentina, they want to love each other, but their religious pope, you know, somehow forbids it. And we wouldn't have these people who, just because they were born in the middle of sex and they were transgendered, they have the right to take on their own stuff, right? Why did they have to be killed, and why do we have to hold these vigils for them? If we had some sort of equality of the spirit, we wouldn't have it. We wouldn't have this great-grandmother who's having trouble taking care of her mentally disabled and physically disabled kid. If we had equality of the spirit and we understood it on a higher level, we wouldn't have this fight, this crazy religious fights that are going on all over the world and what's baffling with religion is because these religions are designed to describe God in our way. And if God is here, then I have a view of God that's valid, and you do too, and everybody else does. The way we get to understanding what this God is to listen to everybody's perspective on it, because I don't know the words on that side. I know these. I can share them with you, and we can get together, and we can all get this, back on track. Have I been going backwards the whole time? And we wouldn't prejudge this dude in San Diego who's Hispanic, former gangbanger, who now is a social worker out helping people homeless on the street. And then with the election of our latest president on the day of his inauguration, blam. We're out here having a strife, and this is right outside, right close to the Washington Post where I work. If we had some higher level understanding of mathematical, of being mathematicians on a higher level of the spirit, then I don't think we would stand for these things to happen, because it's kind of like a washing machine, right? And we're washing sheets and towels with socks and wash rags, right? And sometimes when it gets on that good spin cycle, it's like spinning in the middle. But if it gets off balance and the weight becomes not equally distributed, the wobble of the washing machine starts to get off. And y'all have seen it. Have you know what a walking washing machine is? You walk yourself all the way across the room. We've been there. And then we go in and there's an optimal plan of action I think all of us kind of think to do, right? What is the first thing? First thing is like open it to stop it. You know what I mean? Because it's on the spin cycle. You open it and it stops, right? The next thing we're going to do is what? Well, we're going to get it over there first. We're going to walk it back. Right? And then what are we going to do? We're going to equally distribute the weight let it try to get that spin? Are we just going to equally distribute it and just walk away? I'm sorry for spitting on you. Are we just going to equally distribute it and just walk away right there? No. How many times have you done that? Gone upstairs, a few minutes later, it doesn't walk back out again. No, you're going to stay there, evenly set it out, test it a few times, put your finger down in a button or something, get a spin going, and get it back on track. And it might not be perfect, that perfect spin, but enough to do what it was designed to do, right? Here's what's crazy and why all this time we come to understandings of higher levels. What we're doing is we're strengthening ourselves with preparation and encouraging ourselves by coming to the knowledge of the situation, right? And we need that because what we'll have is a group of people hatefully fighting us because we want to move the washing machine back. It's off kilter, and we got a group of people fighting us for trying to get it back and getting it on track. That is absolutely absurd to me. So we have to be equipped for that. Well, here's what's deeper. It's like a lot of people in the room, they could care less about the washing machine. They're used to walking around it in the middle of the room. So there's this over there just thinking the washing machine is just going to magically make its way back. Or they know the washing machine shouldn't be out there, but they too busy grinding on their work, just trying to make their daily meals. That I have a bigger priority than the washing machine right now. So here's my deal. Here's my deal. I want to get the washing machine back, right? And I want to strengthen and encourage myself. I want to strengthen and encourage like-minded people who want to get it back. I want to educate those who are just standing around. Convince those who are on the grind that, this washing machine needs some energy. And I prep myself then to gather and fight myself against those who are hatefully fighting against moving the washing machine back. It's absolutely crazy because all the while you got 1% of the population, we're locked in the basement, all of us. And they're up there pillaging the whole house. Down here got us thinking that the issue was the washing machine, and every once in a while they'll come down there and throw off the clothes and then run back upstairs and lock the door and keep pillaging the crib. And we down here fighting over like whether or not to move the washing machine back, and we're getting ripped. Because I feel like if we can come to some agreement, then we could get the washing machine back, because it won't take that long, and make our ways back upstairs to stop this pillage. I feel like if we can get to that point, then we could find higher levels of understandings of things like democracy, true equality. We call ourselves a democracy. We cannot call this country, we cannot call ourselves a democracy. But I feel like if we understood those higher mathematics of the spirit to start understanding one another as equal to equal. So how do we do that? How do we sit down and have this conversation where we get to this love, place of love? Okay, what is this? Math. Y'all ready for a little math? Because this is the math, raising your levels of mathematics of the spirit. What is this? It's an equal sign. What do we know about this equal sign? It's a rule. It's a basic rule. If you don't tell me, I got to move on. What if I put a 1 on this side? What do I got to do on this side? There's got to be a 1. It's an equal sign, right? Because 1 equals 1. And it goes deeper. 10 equals 10. And I mean, it's the basics of an equality sign. But what if I did this? Dum, 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 dum. Becomes a false statement. It's no longer true. And in the beginning, we might be cool with it. We could go with just, 1 being off, with just 1 off. But what happens then when we keep on taking off, right? Then we don't notice in the beginning, but then after it goes on for so long, it becomes so off that, and so you have then this inequality, and the theme of this is equality. Because I can't talk about equality without talking about these inequalities, because if we recognize these inequalities, we can fortify ourselves to be able to move back towards something that's equal. And in math, here's the deal. What is this? Let's step up to some algebra. What is this? What does x equal? What does x equal? X equals something, anything you can define it. You can define it any way you want, right? So what if x is 1? Lob a simple math problem at you. What if x equals 1? Then what is x plus x? Blam. It's not 2x, it's just 2, right? What if x is 5? X plus x equals 10. So here's what happens. When we set up these equations, the x plus x, they're just functions, right? They're just functions of x. We can even say then back here, sorry to flip back, we can even define this not only as a number, we can define this as people, ourselves, or blades of grass, or ants, or mosquitoes. But we don't just look at that x, we start to look at bigger functions of x, those things that happen to x over the course of x's life if we're defining by x is to be us, right? And then we come up with these functions like this, and what if x plus x, if x is 10, what is it? It's really simple, right? There's these functions that happen to us, like I'm not just one x now, I've come together with other x's now, and now I need to define myself in collection with everybody else. And what is this? X squared. What if this function is x squared? And what if x is 5? 25, because we know it's x is 5 times 5. Dang, I got some mathematicians over there. What's deep is, look, I got this homework assignment in college, but to then look at functions on a higher level. And then these would be the answers. It wouldn't be just numbers, it would be words written out on paper, right? These higher level functions where we suppose x is this. I don't know if you can see, I hope you can, this x in parentheses, and suppose then all this stuff. Now let's talk about the situation, right? And this would be the answer to that. It's like, dang! So what if? I know this might be over some people's heads, but let's look at this real quick. I'm sorry to do this to you. But I'm a math teacher. What else did you expect? We have this function of x, and let's say x is our destiny, right? Then over on the right-hand side, we have all these things with x in them, and the numbers keep getting higher as if our days are numbered, right? As we go along with this x, but alongside x is an a something. It's like that something, it's like that variable of life, like where you were born and to who. You start adding these things because we're looking at this as if we're looking at an equation that where we are the x. And there are a lot of uncontrollable things that happen to us in our lives, like where we're born, to what parents, what country, how much money we have, all those things. How much education level did my grandmother have? But there are also other things that happen that are in our control, like what do we eat for breakfast? And whether or not we exercise. Or what, you know. But there are other things that happen. Other people are started to be included in our equation. And what happens with these x's and these b's alongside our x's as we go through our lives, then we start to include not just our decisions about breakfast and where we were born. There are other things that come into play, like things that happen to us, like racism and sexism and ageism and all the isms. Why would we want to have this function of our lives include those types of things, racism, sexism, where we look at one another unequally? So, but while we're looking at this bigger picture of what's going on with our x, then we'll have to ask ourselves, because we forget about it, we get caught up in the function of life, and we forget about that x. So what is x? I had this math problem back in Dr. Eakin's class back in college. And he gave us this what is X type of problem. And for the first night, I went home and the whole class did, and we rang on that math problem to try to figure out what X is, right? And we came back that next day and nobody could get it. So he sent us back again. And the next night I'm grinding on, what is my X, what is my X, what is my X? And I was like, dang, you know what, I got to sleep on this. I went to sleep, and what happened is, in my mind, the only thing I could see in my dream was that my hand was working out in fast motion, like some crazy stuff, like writing out what the problem is. When I got to the problem, I was like, dang, this is heavy. So when I went back the next day, and Dr. Eakin said, well, what did we come up with? I said, and nobody was answering their hand. I had my hand like, I got this. And I came up with X equals X. X just equals itself. But when we let ourselves be defined as X, then we have to come up with some deeper definitions of what that is, because I do not think it is our hair, our skin, our brains, our hearts, the blood that my mother passed on. It's not the blood. It is that something bigger, that deeper, that is that X that we overlook. We get caught up in our houses and our cars and all this materialistic stuff when if I'm going to follow that Jesus dude, I'm going to follow Elijah from back in the park, who has stopped defining himself by these things, by these outside forces. I'm going to look at myself as close to this, that true whatever that is that makes me pump, that wakes me up, that deeper than my brain, deeper than my heart. Because I feel like if we come to these higher levels of understanding of our spirit on a mathematical level through life, then we recognize the value of our X. But then we can't stop there. We have to recognize the value in your X and recognize that my X is equal to yours, is equal to hers, is equal. If we were to line up a mathematical equation of all of us in this room, it would be X plus X plus X plus X plus, equals X. Not plus, but it would be X equals X equals X equals X for all of us, because we are all same. And I feel like if we can come to this higher level of that understanding, the most simple mathematical equation, that we are all the same, then I feel like we can stop this. We can get the washing machine back, and we can get upstairs and stop the people from pillaging.